All right, so good morning,
Good
good
morning.
day, good afternoon to everyone. So we are speaking again on the Insight series. It's a series of discussions that we're having with industry leaders on various topics, and today we're lucky to have Kees, who will talk us through his experience in managing large-scale digital transformations for companies in a variety of sectors. Welcome to our discussion today. I'm very glad that we are speaking, albeit still virtually, but it's nice to have you with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'll start by asking Kees to give us a quick roundup on his background and sort of what he has been doing for the last 10 or 20 years in terms of transforming companies to become more digital. And maybe you can give us a little bit about your career, your background, and sort of give us a couple of practical examples about the digital transformations you've executed.
No problem. Well, my name is Kees van der Vleuten, living in the Netherlands, born and raised, and took my career at the Philips supply chain talent pool at the time, where we went through a 4 years program on leadership, on restructuring organizations, and defining improvement in supply chain. At a very early stage in my career, I got in touch with IT, for example. I worked about 16 years in Philips, 5 years at a logistics company called Intexo, which is part of DHL, in a variety of roles, meaning supply chain management, logistics, commercial roles, as well as operational roles. And in both cases, at that time, I was involved in growth, in transition and transformation of companies. And the last 14 years, I've helped a numerous amount of companies with different ownerships, Russian, American, German companies, in different industries. So you might say it's a versatile approach. My first true digital program I ran into was in 2001, where we wanted to install a very small based application outside the firewall of the company at Philips. And that was basically when the first touch after the internet bubble with digital transformation started. And that took further down my career up till today, took further shape. So we run into topics like how do you do connectivity? How do you do data management? What is the impact on Industry 4.0, AI, IoT, and those kind of things? And at some point in time, the luck was that I had a program running at VEON where one of the issues we want to transform the company and become totally digital. And that big transformation meant that we were running with Oracle Cloud and Amazon as an example, to have top layers for consumer communication as well as the current running operations. And I was lucky to support her in supply chain and procurement and be part of this transformation team. Later on, I started to work at, and that's recently, I started to work at Aon, and there we saw actually a complete huge landscape of applications moving actually slowly towards digital transformation. And we did that also in the same time of integrating two newly bought companies. And I think that those are the highlights where digital transformation comes across. If you take it a bit further, then of course you talk about real business transformation. Now, my career has been around change, transformation, improvements, and integrations. If you look at the time I spent with Philips, the 16 years, we had one philosophy. We always try to do things better, cheaper, and faster, and adapt to the environment which we are currently in. And In the meantime, of course, we also survived a couple of crises, financially, the oil and gas crisis, the COVID crisis. And what seems to be important, that the digital transformation is helping us further into the future. And those kind of cornerstones in leadership I learned through my Philips period, and of course the last 14 years when I see leadership changing actually as a management aspect. In personal sense, maybe interesting to know, traveled around the world, more than 40 countries, worked. I'm married, have 2 children, luckily not living at home anymore. So in that sense, you know, I've seen much about cultures, leadership, technology, and let's say business and industries. And one conclusion I draw from my history is that they all have the same problem, although being in different industries in different countries, it's all the same leadership questions around it on this digital transformation.
Very, very impressive career and international experience. Maybe something that I'd like to ask you related to your travel and doing digital transformations in sort of multicultural environments. Can you say that there's been an aspect of transformation that is most crucial everywhere? So it's either cultural or it's technological or it's maybe something else. But you know, could you say that there was an aspect that has been sort of going through across different cultures and regions, no matter where you went?
Yeah, I think if I take the line around what do you do with transformations in general, be it business or digital or whatever, you might also say if you do it with restructuring, one key element is the human factor. And what I learned with all these cultures, all these visits, all these organizations I worked for, if you are able to onboard people in your change and transformation and be honest, straightforward in what your goals are, what you want to achieve, then people will accept you as a leader and will also follow you as a leader. And what I found out is it doesn't matter whether you do it on a digital way. So the engagement side of doing the transformation from your staff is very, very important. On the same time, you might say the word humility in the sense of, yes, they are going through a change. You're going through a change because you're leading the change actually, but yourself will be changing too as a leader. It doesn't work to have a direct, dominant leadership style in this transformation. That only works in certain areas. When it's blocking, then you can do that. But in generally, my experience is take the people on board in this whole program and process, be straightforward to them, make sure what the consequences are so people can start thinking their own. They're not stupid people, to be honest. They're very smart people you work with. And ask them to contribute to that transformation. And one thing my position has always been, you also as a leader need to accept that at a certain moment in time, maybe your position is over in this whole process and you need to step away. The same as you let people go in your team or in your organization, it can happen to a leader too. That brings more personal dynamics and it brings a lot of trust amongst each other and the team members in the organization. And it doesn't matter on which level you operate, whether you're a project leader, whether you're the CEO of a company. I think that people more and more are looking to those kind of leaders. And that's one thing, engagement, communication, and treating people as people and not as part of an organization as a number. And then you will definitely make sure that this transformation will succeed. And whether it's a digital one or a business one, I think it's irrelevant. Of course, you're looking to the market that the digital technology is successful, but you have smart IT people and smart business leaders who will sort out. And I think that's the way Apple and Google and Amazon, they have an open culture. and they have a vision on that. So that's why they are quite successful. And today's situation, there has been studies in the Netherlands that 60% leaders do not know what digital technology and the impacts of it. And secondly, is we are living in, or used to live in a dominant leadership style, top to bottom communication. And in some cultures is, but I think that most people nowadays around the world, they have entrance to education, they are smart enough, they travel around, internet helps you to make connections around the world. So I think treat them as real people, and then your transformation will succeed. And accept yourself that, well, if the transformation is done and you might not be the leader on the job anymore, there's a new type of leader required, then accept also to step away and to move to somewhere else. And that's my personal experience from the last 20, 25 years in doing these changes. And I thought, regardless of cultures, regardless of industries, I think there must be an industry where it's difficult to do, or there must be a country where it's difficult to do. I think if you act normally as a leader, I think you will find a way, the handle to twist this change in the right direction. And I've been in Russia, I've been in Ukraine, I've been in the Americas, and we succeeded. And we, specifically as team, we succeeded in doing the transformation. Of course, there's resistance. You have to accept that. But think smart ways around it to overcome the resistance, because resistance comes somewhere internally from people. It comes somewhere from. And if you take that on board and you do your analysis on that, you can drive any transformation successfully. That is my personal view, to be honest.
I completely agree. Having been myself in several markets, I think the essence is always unchanged, but it's the approach that makes you succeed in this transformation. And you're right also that the bulk of society and communities is still probably catching up with the advancements. I'm wondering what you think, and this probably be my final question. What do you think of the pandemic and last year in terms of accelerating this change or changing the direction which we are now all taking with regards to how digital we are becoming and how fast we are moving in this direction?
Yeah. Well, I've been working, I think, over 12 years in remote environments. Starting in Philips at the time when we did traveling, of course, you need to be still working. We did it out of hotels or out of the offices remotely or from home. So that's quite a long time ago. I was surprised by the fact that a lot of, at least in the Netherlands, I found out that a lot of companies were not yet prepared in working remotely and virtually. On the other hand, if I look at how the pandemic is handled and treated, with the key 6 or 8 elements which are important for future, then I saw also a couple of things which I find very noticeable. One thing was, it surprises me how bad supply chain management has been arranged, with all the given solutions, concepts, and technologies around there. To give you a small example, we implemented supply chain control towers to control our inbound and outbound supply chains from divisions already in 2004-5, which is 15 years ago. And still a lot of companies don't have these kind of concepts in-house. The second thing, for example, is sustainability. It's one driver which also will impact our lives now in future, which has got a boost through COVID. I did a project in sustainability in 2001, which is 19 years ago. And why I'm emphasizing these number of years, because it looks like we have been standing still, although a lot of things have happened, funnily. funny. But in this case, I think the emphasis on sustainability, I think, will get a tremendous dimension for the future if we want to save the planet and if we want to be, how do you say that, driving sustainable companies. It's not so much about planning anymore, I would say, or having budgets in place. It's an instrument, no more or less, because who would have expected that your budget run out of control due to the pandemic? So there's a lesson to learn. Don't plan everything, but also use your numbers, your financial numbers, to steer a bit about your company's direction. Is it about growth? Yes, it's still about growth, but growth is, I don't think, the major driver. It's about surviving your company. It's about being sustainable as a company. And one thing, what I also see changing is leadership. It's not so much more in the past that the current rigid hierarchical leadership will work. I think through digital technology, using in the COVID period and working from home, you have to build more trust on your employees, target-based approach to your employees, in the sense of, if you realize this within a certain time frame, then, well, we're happy. And so there will be a different style of leadership coming up, and I will call that secure-based, conscious-based leadership. That means know your people, understand your environment, but also understand yourself and learn from yourself, because that will drive future growth and future development of companies. Digital technology is only an enabler here. It helps you, but it's a very dangerous weapon, digital technology, because it will totally transform your business model in the industry. And that is where you have to think about what kind of company will I be in a few years from now, or should I be today? And I think that is what COVID is bringing us, a radical thinking, a change of thinking in are we doing still the right stuff today, whether it's privately, business-wise. And I sincerely hope, and I've grown up by family values, where I started to work in Philips, because that's the reason why I chose for Philips, that it's a family who used to build this company in the way it was. It's changed into a kind of American style, numbers, Anglo-Saxon style, if you might say, numbers, numbers, numbers. But I think if you treat your company as a family, then members are part of the family, or members are not part of the family. And the question is, how big should your family be? That's one thing. And the second thing, what do you want to achieve with your family? And I think if you talk privately, then you say, what I'm looking for is prosperity, luck, happiness, nice surroundings around me. I think if you look back to your own family, your own children, you want the same objectives, and I think that's the way I hope companies will start acting. And if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals from the World Economic Forum, a lot of these goals are focused on, I would say, human happiness, business long-term sustainable growth and existence, and care for nature, care for each other, making sure health and poverty is erased. Those kind of things, I think, are becoming more important. And one thing struck me also recently. I looked at a video of Wubbo Ockels again. He passed away, and the last half hour before his death, he spoke about the development of the planet. I suggest everybody to look back to his video. It was really impressive. And the same, of course, with the Netflix series you now see moving around what is going on with the Earth. I think there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do still. And I hope digital technology will help us to improve our lives in that way, and that we can live I would say, a decent, normal life again, and also for our next generation, your and my children. I think management and leadership style should be aware of that, and I know a lot of global companies are looking at it, struggling with it even. But it comes down to your own personality as a leader, because that comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, but the pandemic, in a way, has steered us into the right direction, and made us realize how much importance these things have in our lives.
It is, and I use a frame always is. I was thinking about it when we talked about, let's say, doing this interview, and I said I took one word or one sentence out of it, is that for myself is dare to care. And a lot of leaders, and dare to care, you can have multiple translations. You can care for people, you can care for business success, for nature, for numbers, whatever, you fill it in yourself. And when you talk about dare to care, and if you ask those questions to many leaders, I would say it defines your leadership style, and it defines the culture eventually in the company. It defines how you transform your company. And COVID, to at least that's my awareness I took in 2020 when the COVID hit. Because I had a double role to do. On the one hand, I was working on my position, my normal daily activities. And on the other hand, I was caretaker for my father who had dementia, and eventually it's taken into a daycare center. And then you realize the time you got because of the lockdowns and the impact of the virus. It makes you realize, hey, you can run both streams, being good for somebody else and being successful in business. And that, I think that personally is the experience I got to COVID. Was COVID a surprise? No. COVID itself as an infectious disease, yes, it was, because nobody could predict that. But from the financial, economically side, it has been predicted already years ago. And there are financial models you can review through Erasmus University in Rotterdam. The same way this faculty also predicted the financial crisis in 2008. And probably humankind have to go through these kind of transformations and changes and pandemics in order to learn and to reset, do your own reset. And I must say, I think I'm blessed with the fact that I work in supply chain, that I've been engaged in digital technology, that I have done on a very young age leadership roles all the way down till today. And I'm blessed also that I've worked in the medical technology and the pharmaceutical environment, because I also understand that industry quite well, next to electronics, next to logistics, next to insurance. So I've seen many industries, many countries. And I'm blessed by the fact that I can make this holistic overview for myself and see, where can I improve daily as a leader and as a human being. And I think that goes hand in hand in boards of companies too, as well as executive teams. And it's not about, I need to get my bonus by the end of the year, because most people work like that. I think it's to get the best results out of the people and the company, and then the bonus will come. It's a different focus in how you work, actually. And one thing I was always stuck with, and I'm trying still to understand how transformation works with people also when you become older, is that when I led teams, some people said, I'm happy if I get 60 or 65, but then I can go with retirement. And I said, if you are telling me this, then actually you should go much earlier, because you're not focusing on the business. You're not developing yourself. You don't have any fun in your business, actually. That's the translation I made. And I think as long as you can contribute, whether you're 70 or 50, age doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter. As long as you can contribute to this transformation, I think you get satisfaction out of that. And I don't want to think about, let's say, hey, on 65, I'm retired, because you know, it's a dimension which totally doesn't fit my mentality actually. And I think if people start thinking like that, then we jointly can bring this transformation after COVID happening. And, yeah, it you know, sometimes it needs a crisis to get a better future. Actually, that's and we talk about the fourth industrialization period, which is full of digital aspects and will be full of digital aspects. But as human beings, as leaders, we should find other ways of working, other spending of our times. If computers and robots are taking over, and robotics in Industry 4.0 is already happening, of course. It's logic in automotive factories and even in insurance. I saw RPA taking place. But we have to be creative. There are many ways to contribute to society and to transform. So we need to transform ourselves too. That's my view, at least. How I look from the pandemic.
I agree. I agree to that. We have to unfortunately wrap up the call because of timing, but it's you know, we can continue this discussion, I think, for much longer. There's so much to gain from the views you're sharing. Thank you so much for taking part.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we will be able to reach out to you on social if there are any questions or any opportunities to discuss.
May I give one small advice or remark to your audience and maybe also to yourself? There is an interesting book written a couple of years ago called by Geoffrey Moore. And if you want to understand business transformations combined with digital transformation, read the book Zone to Win. And that gives you a good idea how you can transform companies with the aid of digital solutions, actually. And I'm blessed that through my VEON period in Amsterdam, I got a 2-day workshop organized by Dell and Professor Geoffrey Moore. And I could do a remembrance back because in Philips, we already worked in what we call Zone to Win environments. And I think if you read the book, you fully understand what I mean and what I just said, actually.
Thank you for the tip. Yeah, I'm sure we will all benefit from this, and I've made a note to acquire to purchase this book when possible. Good. So
thank you,
once
Dimitri.
again, thank you, and I look forward to speaking again. Stay healthy, safe. Have a great 2021, and also to our audience as well.
Same to you and your family. Thank you very much, Dimitri. Cheers.
Bye-bye.